Think about what you did.
Nobody makes it to the end of these things. Come on.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.
He wrote it exactly what page it's on. He can reference it mentally without even looking at it. Like I bust chops, but I have no grounds to.
It's the only way I can remember anything.
Well, and I
Typing it
write
doesn't do
notes, but then I can't even read my handwriting because it's so bad. So
that's
it's
the
kind
worst.
of pointless. I don't know why I do it, but
So, well, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. We're excited to have you on. Everybody, welcome to the show. Today's guest, we've got Derek Moll from Tompkins Vist. Is it still Tompkins Vist?
just Tompkins.
It's just Tompkins. I thought they
Tompkins.
changed that. Why'd they change that?
Well, and do you want the whole history or what do you need?
Maybe the quick version?
Quick version, we got purchased in 2012.
Okay.
We were independently still chartered at that time. It's a little bit unique situation, so they own 4 banks.
Okay.
And then, so that we were still Tompkins Vist Bank at that time, yes, individually chartered. And then recently, like May, we just consolidated all the charters into one, so now we're just Tompkins.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there you go.
So how many banks is Tompkins now?
Well, it's 4.
It is still just 4,
Yeah,
okay.
just 4, but now we're 1, and we're about 7.7 billion, somewhere in there.
Oh,
So
that's pretty impressive.
With a B.
With a B.
With a B.
That's the B-illion.
With a B.
Yeah, no, that's we're aggregate between the three of us about $13.75. So it's not nearly the market cap, but we're working on it. We're gonna get to that $20 mark. It's gonna be great. So what do you do for Tompkins?
So I'm the enterprise data manager currently. Had many jobs there actually since I've been there 23 years. So I kind of know the history. But yeah, manage all the data for banking, insurance, and wealth management.
I got to imagine the regulations have, because we do compliancy stuff for credit unions and things like that, and the regulations are nuts. I mean, and are you taking all that onto your shoulders? I imagine that's your responsibility, right?
Yeah, depending on the reg, but a lot of times, things come up either legal or, whatever, and we have to deal with it, so they come to my team.
So which compliance do you fall under?
FDIC.
It's all FDIC.
Yeah,
So
all
there's
FDIC.
no HIPAA in your world, no.
No, I mean, it's all there, but I don't deal with,
Okay.
HR stuff or any of that. I don't deal with that. I mean, I
Gotcha.
help them gather data if they need it. Like, I can attach to their server on their... They use Kronos, a system that's pretty popular. So I can dab into that and, get whatever they need, but... Yeah.
Very cool.
That's it.
So do you guys keep outside information too, or is it all
We
Tompkins
can.
stuff?
No, we can.
Is that something you sell as a service?
No, we do not.
Okay, so you're
And
just collecting.
We just collect.
Okay.
Absolutely. And there is a big time differentiation there.
Oh, yeah.
But no, we do not sell any information at all. Some banks do. So.
Interesting. Can we name those banks?
Well,
No
there's
pressure.
one scenario that I even told you about this, but so I'll say it. But for the first time in history, there was a situation that happened not too long ago.
Was that the U.S. bank situation?
No, this is Bank of America. I'll name that bank. But when January 6th happened,
I
there
read about
was
this.
some things that occurred that has never happened in the history of data in banking. And normally when the government comes to a bank for information, they need to have a subpoena of some kind. And the government decided not to do that and asked the 6 big banks for data surrounding check card transactions and credit card transactions. And the only bank to actually do it was Bank of America.
Why do you think they said yes? Because that's a huge
Don't
violation
know.
of their relationship with their customers.
It is. I have no idea why, but they actually supplied, I think the metrics were around, hotel stays in the DC area along with gun sales.
Wow.
And then they came up with a list.
Wow.
So I told you about that not too long ago. But that's real. That happened. It was in the news.
And
know.
so
No,
I wonder
I think we talked about it in one of our episodes, actually.
Yeah.
That was messed up.
Yeah.
Well, we have a guy that I'm working on to have on the show. I didn't tell you about this, Jimmy, yet, but he was actually in detention for 4 months.
Oh.
And because he was down in D.C. on January 6th, and he used his bank card. And that's how they tracked him.
Yep.
And they showed up at his house, I think it was 6 months afterwards. It was like in the summer of 2021.
Yeah.
And he had no idea anything was going on. I mean, he didn't really go there. He went down. He never got within 5 miles of the Capitol. He just went down. But Yeah, they
Those
picked
were
him
the
up,
metrics.
picked him up,
and
put him in jail, no trial.
From the way I understand it, there was actually not one conviction out of the 200 plus names that they gave, I think. So I don't think there was one conviction.
I've read that. Well, wait, didn't they
Did
old
they like execute that under
think
like
they
the
got-
Patriot Act as if that was like a
That's a good question.
it was a
well, that's how they were holding him.
they
without
considered
charges.
it to be like, what was the term?
Well, it was they were calling it insurrection, so it was the treason clause. It
Yeah,
was the,
treason, right? So then that fell under the Patriot Act, which
Yes.
basically they treated them as if they were, attacking the country.
yeah, at least they didn't send him to Gitmo. Jeez, they could have though. I mean, could you imagine that? I guess they could. A bunch of housewives and dads at Gitmo.
I don't know what Gitmo is.
Yeah, Guantanamo Bay.
Oh,
Yeah, it's still open, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still
Yeah,
open.
it's
Why
still
don't
open.
I miss talking about that. I don't talk about it anymore. Like, it was like the biggest thing in the
other
news
things to
for
talk
like
about.
6 years, and then all of a sudden it just went away.
they consider it, I guess, a terrorist attack of some sort, right? That's
They
basically
kind of classified it the
Technically.
same.
as a terrorist.
Insurrection.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it wasn't
Domestic terrorism, isn't that the...
I find it crazy that
Yeah.
there was like that. Really, we couldn't hold people off at the Capitol.
Well, look, I don't. It's if you watch the video, nobody was really holding them off. It was more of like, and I think
Like they wanted them to.
I don't know. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories
hear
here,
that.
but there was clearly not an aggressive response. And I think a lot of that, some people
And
would
why
say maybe
wouldn't
they
there?
wanted them in. I don't know. I don't want to get into the conspiracy stuff, but I think there was definitely a lot of hesitation against opening fire on U.S. citizens.
But why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't there have been an aggressive defensive?
I don't know if they actually thought it was an insurrection. I mean, but
Then
I
I think there would be.
I mean, you got your armchair quarterbacking too. I mean, in hindsight, I mean, boots on the ground. Your Capitol Police. These are American citizens waving American flags. I mean, and none of them have a gun. They haven't found a single firearm that was a part of that. So they're unarmed.
Well, that one chick got killed, right?
Yeah, but she was unarmed.
She was unarmed.
So she got shot breaking into the Capitol, but she didn't have
She
any
got
weapons
shot by a security
by the
guard.
Capitol Police. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but she was the only death in the entire thing.
She was.
I mean,
That's true. They
that
tried to
seems-
tie some other ones to it, but it
There was like
came
a
up
stroke.
negative. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a heart attack.
First they said it was a
stroke.
fire extinguisher, like bashing their head in or something.
Even the family came out and they're like, "No, he was
Yeah.
home for dinner that night.
Right.
Like he had a stroke 2 days later."
Right.
Yeah, she was the only death. It was. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess this is going to turn into a whole other episode. We're going to get shadow banned because we had Derek on to talk about banks.
They're gonna
Sorry, I brought up BOA.
We went down this rabbit hole. No, I love talking about this stuff. What I really love is when Jimmy's like that vein on his head pops and he just starts letting all the conspiracy theories out. Those are always the best shows. It's great stuff. All right, so big day. So what else have you done at the bank? Like, what's your background there?
So started as a manager trainee, and was a branch manager for like 8 years, and then worked my way into the IT world, being a system admin, things like that.
That's a weird leap.
Oh yeah. It just kind of happened. I just got interested in it, and then became special projects. Got in product development, and what can we do? I developed a whole new theory on home equity lines of credit that the bank took actually back in 2008.
Wow.
Called like carve outs. We never had a product like that, so instead of doing a line of credit and it's a variable rate, you could actually like lock in certain dollar amounts. So back in 2008, that was kind of new. And so we did that, which was cool. And then when we got bought in 2012 by Tompkins, they put me in training because I would train all managers, all system managers on IRAs and deposits and loans. I was the lending trainer. So
Wow.
yeah, did all that, and then became a loan business analyst, working on systems, just making sure they're right for the bank, and morphed into data. Started writing a lot of reports.
Do you code?
Very minimal. Very minimal. But I have people that code for me.
That's more important. That's
yes.
much more important.
And you just say, "Hey, code this."
Yeah, I say I need this. I don't care how you do it. Give me
The
that.
problem is true coders are so good.
Yes.
Like
Very
I
good.
code, but then I get together with Victor, who was on the show. He's our lead coder for the office, and
Yep.
he runs circles around me. Like, I don't even understand what he's saying half the time. And I'm like,
I
I,
don't either.
actually speak that language, and I still don't know what you're talking about.
They have an interesting personality most times.
That's because
as
he
well.
has the
Yes,
V.
they do.
He has the V code. That's why.
The V code. He does have. You're bringing up old stuff, man.
That's his own code.
So, what I want to talk now, I don't know if there's anything you guys want to talk about, but clearly we are in some very interesting financial times.
Yep.
And I kind of love the idea that you're here now, because I mean, I don't know. Does anybody here not agree that we're in a recession? I mean,
Yeah.
We're
okay.
in a recession.
All right, good.
We're a top secret recession.
Oh, yeah, we're not
Yes.
allowed to talk about
Don't
it.
talk about
No,
it.
but
No.
okay. As long as I just want to make sure we're on the same
It's not
page.
official. Phillies have to win the World Series before it's official.
Well, that sent us into it, doesn't that?
That's
What a great
every
year.
time the Phillies have won a championship or a World Series,
Yeah.
there was a recession.
Is this true?
It's actually true.
Yeah,
What?
It is true.
Wow.
Get out of
And
here.
they just clinched a playoff berth for the
They
first
did.
time in 11 years.
So I think we need to go all in.
Are you
finance
serious?
the house?
Dead serious.
Well,
Oh
wait,
my
the
God.
Eagles are undefeated too. If they both win, is that full-blown depression?
Pretty much.
That's what that means? I knew Philly sports would destroy the country. I just didn't know how. I figured it would be the fans.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
that is true though. That's crazy.
that is so weird. I'd never
Give
heard
it,
that.
Give it like a month, and then I'll be able to tell you.
Do we have to do an episode on that too?
I think so.
All right, fair enough. So how are you guys dealing with that? Like, what are you guys seeing that's indicating? Because you clearly were like, yeah, we are. Is
yeah.
that something you're seeing, or just something that you know to be true, or?
It's. I mean, if you just watch things, I mean, you can kind of tell if you're in the industry, and obviously with the inflation rate and the Fed raising their rates the way they are, I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, that's where we're at, and they're trying to do it to adjust things, and there's a lot of issues though. That's the scary part. It's not just one or two.
No, it is.
There's supply issues. There's issues with employment that's not really being discussed, and baby boomers retiring. There's the quiet quitters. You have a lot of things going on right now.
I mean, I don't know. Personally, I think inflation is going to fix a lot of the quiet quitters.
It should. It should. But the question really becomes, because right now it's very hard to find help in general. So they're putting up with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of how long can they put up with it? How long does the business say, okay, you're right,
Well, I think I saw the first report this month that jobs are actually finally pulling back. So
Yes.
job openings are going into negative territory.
Yes.
Things are starting to tighten up, which it's not good news, but
it's needed.
I got to be honest. For the last year, it has been an employment nightmare.
Yes.
So there is definitely some good to having some, the lever flipped to the employer's advantage for a little bit, just to kind of reset things.
I agree. The
do you-
baby boomer thing is not being talked about though, and
That's a real
huge.
problem.
It's the most people ever, born and in the workforce, and we've had it hit. I talked to a lot of other businesses, and they've been hit where they're just retiring.
I mean, can we elaborate on this baby boomer
Well, this is
issue?
what Carl.
Yeah.
Like,
from
let's
Champion
like
was talking
explain
about.
it.
So basically, I mean, there's a mass there's a mass amount of people in the workforce that are baby boomers, and a lot of them have decided they've had enough. Like COVID kind of, people
Just
went through
taking
it.
an early retirement.
Yeah, they're just retiring. They're like, I'm done.
and we
you
don't
know?
have
I
have people to replace them.
Correct. And the problem is like it's the backfill. So you can backfill the actual baby boomer that retired. You can backfill that because you probably have plans because they work their way up, up the corporate ladder. But then it's just a trickle down effect. And
Move everybody up and you got
yes.
to the bottom.
So your entry level jobs are the ones you can't backfill. That's the issue.
How old are the baby boomers right now? Can you look that up real quick on the screen? I mean, they should be 60 to 75 right now, I would say.
Yeah, they're
Probably looking at like 1945 to 1960. It's kind of the baby boomer
I
area.
would guess that's pretty accurate.
I'm not going to lie.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
58
Wasn't
to
too far off.
76.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and 59 and a half, you can start
Start
doing
collecting
whatever you
Social
want.
Security. Well, not
So-
not Social Security, but you
but
can start taking your IRA.
correct.
Um,
Yep, your 401k, all that stuff.
See, now I think the same thing applies to I think also you're going to see a lot of baby boomers re-entering the workforce. Because I
love
think
it if that
inflation
happens.
is going to do the same thing to them. They're going to sit there and say, I have enough to retire
Yep.
when things cost 50% less.
Yep.
Now I don't have enough to retire.
Yeah.
What do I do? Do I majorly cut back and have a piss poor existence?
I never really thought of that, but you might be right because they could try it for a year and be like, oh crap, I need more.
Now, what do they come back as? Do they
That's
go back
the
in their
problem.
career?
Like,
Do they
'cause
become
all-
an ice cream man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Lemonade stand
They
at the
come
mall.
back.
I don't
They
know.
come back to Home Depot.
Yeah.
That's a popular job. I mean, my dad works at the ballpark, and he's
you go.
retired. He's been retired for almost 10 years now.
See, if I did it, I'd do Jeep tours.
Deep tours.
Jeep
Oh,
tours.
Jeep tour. I thought that was.
In a Jeep.
Thought that was going to put a
what,
brand.
Wrangler?
He's going to talk to him off camera.
I can move out to Sedona and do Jeep tours.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
but
what,
you
that's
gotta-
what I want to do when I retire.
Yeah, but you'll be old. Nobody wants their Jeep tour guide to be 73 years old, barely be able to. I mean, you'll still have a man bun, but I mean,
Really?
I'll let you drive around with my dad for an afternoon.
This makes me.
We'll see if you still think people want to drive in your Jeep.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that.
And he's on flat roads.
So somehow, I somehow gotta manage to be a cool old guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can do that.
If I can pull that off,
I
then
feel like you would.
Maybe I can
You'll
do it.
pull that off.
You got to dye your beard.
No, just
Yeah, I could,
Just
I
go
could.
Silver Fox, buddy. Just own it. Just
yeah,
own it.
I just dye everything.
He'll pull it off. The only guy I know who's like, you're almost 50, right?
Yeah,
He's
40.
still ripped. He's got veins
know.
on his biceps.
49.
What is that?
You still play soccer, too.
I, know,
for
I
the
look like a
record.
melted candle, and I'm like 5 years younger than him. It's unreal. I don't even know what's going on. He doesn't even work out.
No, it's natural.
I know. He just thinks about his arms and they get
Well, I
bigger.
think about working out.
Well,
sometimes.
Does that count? Does that actually work?
He's got the mind over matter.
I
thing
stress about that I'm not working out.
going. Well, that's good. That's healthy. So back on topic. So what does this mean for you guys? Like, is this?
It's
I
a
mean,
problem. I mean, we can't backfill entry level positions, and we're paying way more than we should,
so
quite
that-
frankly.
For you guys, entry level would be like teller.
Teller.
Okay.
Yeah, teller's
so
entry level.
Bringing people into the branches.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Customer service jobs, things like that.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe like admin assistants, things like that for even lenders. Stuff like that is considered sometimes entry level. Depends on their function. Every bank works a little different.
Well, I gotta be honest. I gave up my admin because you can't find them.
I know.
And the ones you
Good
can
ones.
find are terrible.
Yeah, good ones.
And I was like, you know what? I'd rather hire more real talent,
Yep.
and I'll just do more of my own
It's
emails.
a whole nother probably episode on workforce and generations and difference.
I will say, I
Work
stay
ethic,
Very,
yeah.
I stay very positive on that, but the only reason why is because I do a lot of work with young young kids. So I do a lot of STEM work. I judge STEM competitions. I work at the schools. Granted, I'm seeing the best of them,
Correct.
and there's a lot that aren't
In
gonna
the tech field,
and
in
they're
the
not
tech
going to be
industry.
exactly.
Yeah, not
And they're-
service.
No, and that's the problem.
Service is the problem.
I think what's happening is the same thing that's happening everywhere in America is where you're getting the divide is getting bigger. And I don't think you're losing that work ethic. I think it's floating off on an island like California after the big one. And you've still got both sides, but there's just this massive gap.
Yeah.
And the ones on this side, you just don't want to hire them, period.
Right.
It's not even like you can find a place to put them. There's no place to put them.
Right.
They have no work ethic. They don't want to do it. They think
Yeah,
they
on
should
an
make
island.
$80,000 a year.
They go on an island, right?
You can't have them on an island because what he's saying is we need them.
need 'em.
We need them to work.
Need 'em. There's a lot of consequences if we don't get them.
Yep.
There's a lot. Small businesses specifically. That's my biggest fear.
Yep. Now is that a big part of what you guys do? You guys do a lot of small business loans?
Tons of small business lending. Huge. We were huge in the PPP space.
Okay.
When that came out, that was challenging, but there was a lot of stuff going on with that as well. So that was kind of fascinating for me to be involved with.
Well, I was going to ask this. So with the PPP loans, did you guys make money on those?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so
why
how-
else would we do them?
Well, I don't know. Because nobody wants to talk about it, and I'm like, clearly the banks.
You make a percent
You make a percent. Yep. Okay.
on
so,
the dollar amount paid by the government,
So
taxpayers.
in addition to the amount that was loaned, the banks were getting paid on top of that. So
Yes.
that was- okay.
Correct. That was
So-
all part of the package.
Okay, gotcha.
Because they needed an avenue to give money. So the network's already there. The banking network already exists. So why not pay them to deliver the money? They were trying to get money out to the masses.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
So it makes sense in that space. And then they incentivize by giving you a percentage of whatever was given.
Okay.
So you got paid to give away free money loans,
Yes.
and then the
No,
loans were
PPP
forgiven.
was not a loan.
the
The IDL was a loan.
it was a loan.
Yeah, it was a loan that was forgiven, though.
It was a loan
Oh,
that was
loan was
forgiven.
forgiven. Gotcha.
But here's the other little known thing that people don't understand is it's a loan on our books at 1%.
Okay.
So all banks every bank in the country, when they booked that PPP loan, it was on for 1%.
Okay.
So not only do you get the fee for it, you would also get interest income on 1% until forgiven.
Who pays the interest?
Government.
Ah, wow.
So then did the government give you the check then
Yes.
for the forgiven loan?
Yep. Not a check, an ACH, but that's okay.
ACH is.
The way you said that was priceless.
That was good.
What's the ACH?
Oh my God.
Deposited into my account.
Oh. So they just came back then and just
Automated
deposited
clearinghouse.
all the money into the bank accounts.
Yes.
Like
But
to
sometimes they
give to
weren't
the
all
banks.
forgiven. I mean, not every loan was forgiven. I mean, they had to actually qualify for forgiveness. So they had to supply paperwork to the bank.
So they apply for the loan, you give the loan. Then when they
Yes.
forgave the loans, the government
They had to,
the government just deposited millions of dollars back in your account for the money that you gave out.
yes. That was government money to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was fully subsidized. Like we had no risk. The risks that we had are for the ones that weren't forgiven. That was our risk.
Okay.
Because we could only get 1% on those loans. But there was a harsh payoff, like I forget exactly what it was off the top of my head, but if they have a finite amount of time to pay us back at the 1%. So it's still a great loan. I mean, if you're
Right.
if you're talking, I mean, it's
Well, I mean,
1%.
that's basically because we got a PPP and we took out an EIDL.
Yes, and a
and
lot of
that's-
people
that's
did
only
that.
1%.
Correct.
So, and
Yes.
I didn't even need
So what's
money,
the-
but I
what's
took
the
it 'cause I was
time
like, I'm never
frame?
gonna see a 1% business.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
everybody
mean.
did.
Great for the rest of
Yeah.
my life.
Correct.
Might as well take it. And,
That's
What's
a lot of people
what
did.
was the time frame then? What's the time frame? on
I
the
don't
loans?
remember off the top of my head, like on the PPP side, like what
2, 5, 10 years. I mean, any like
fives in my head, but don't quote me on it. Could Google it probably, but
you want to search it?
I can, yeah.
Let's look it up. Interesting. I never really understood how that worked. I got to be honest. I mean, we knew what we knew, but anybody I talked to in the banking sphere didn't really want to talk about it. I think because it was so fluid at the time.
oh, it was
That
crazy at
They
the
just
time.
didn't
we
know
worked,
what was going to happen.
We worked. What people don't understand is how hard banks had to. Like there was no system. There was no direction. There was no. We were all flying blind, and I mean we were working day and night. I mean I worked. Sometimes you work like 20 hours. And we had shifts. We only had 50 people doing it at my bank. That was it. And we had shifts all 24 hours. And then when it was bank's decision to open it back up or not, like we had rounds of it because you just come to exhaustion points. And then we had to be like, okay, we're not accepting anymore because we physically can't do it.
Wow.
And then we would regroup and revamp, and like my team and I developed a program to make it easier. So then we reopened it up because we wanted to help people, because it was needed. So we reopened it back up and actually got, I forget the number, 100 million more or whatever it was out to the public. But
I remember because we got it on the first round, but there was like 10 rounds. It went on forever.
there was a lot.
And I remember maybe 6 months later, in my mind, we got our money.
Yep.
I moved on. Like I forgot that everybody's still dealing with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm selfish and self-serving.
Like most
And like most
Americans.
people. And so I called the SBA because we had some sort of issue with our paperwork. And my office manager said, I've been trying to call him. I can't get through to him. I was like, I'll try because I'm also cocky. And so I called the SBA and I got somebody. And I remember hearing her voice and I'm asking her questions. And finally she just goes, sir, we don't know. And I'm like, excuse me?
She
And
was honest.
I was like, but you're the one who was running all the paperwork. She goes, they haven't even finished writing the law, sir. She's like, we have no idea.
And
She
that's
goes,
accurate.
just submit the paperwork and maybe it'll work.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's what we're doing, just hope and prayer. And she's like, pretty much. She goes, look, we're all tired.
Yeah.
and she said,
That's the same thing.
yeah, I was like, all right, fair enough. I won't bug you anymore.
It's
Just-
the
Jeez.
same thing. Like
But-
it was a nightmare. I mean, but people needed money. I mean, there was a lot of people that needed that money. Let's face it. A lot of people that didn't, that got it.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother.
I suppose they should have thought about that before they told everybody to stay home and send checks out.
maybe we just shouldn't shut down the economy next time.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, it's just a thought.
Just leave it open. Like,
Crazy thought, right?
all I know is the economy was shut down, but I could still go to Home Depot. That
Yeah.
didn't make any sense.
But
Only
but
big
you
box
couldn't go to
Only
you,
the big box
Only
stores.
big box.
but you couldn't go to Dave's hardware store.
Correct.
No, that's
not.
guaranteed COVID.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you got COVID if you
Yeah.
went there.
Yeah, and
was
a
right
life
there.
sentence.
And you go to prison. Yeah, it's basically Patriot Act again. Yeah, they send you to Gitmo. Yeah, this is why we get shadow banned. Every freaking time we end up going down this road, it never works well. So, all right. So, Jimmy, you sent a bunch of links over here. Is this wait?
Well, I was just like, because me and Derek, we do coffee mornings every now and then. He comes over and we hang out with Gretchen and we just babble. So we've had the reason I asked him to come here is because we had a conversation one day about all this, and he just clued me in a lot on banking that I didn't really understand how the banking system worked and all that stuff. So it was a very interesting conversation.
Well, did you read this Columbia.edu article?
Well, I read these were as I was going and I was making the agenda. I just started putting the links in that I was using. So I read through most of them. But if you have a specific question about one of the links. A lot of this was conversation that came up with him that I wanted to talk about because I don't really know how much people actually know about banking and how it works as a business. And, we got into talk like the overnight funding and stuff, which I thought was it's an interesting conversation, how they have to borrow money overnight and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Glenn Beck talks about that all
yeah,
the time.
And I it's just kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, that's a huge metric in the banking world, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Measure of risk and measure of how things are going, basically, is how much the federal government is loaning the banks.
Yeah, so basically, commercial banks, and you itemized it out kind of nice, difference between commercial and investment banks.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Big difference. Now, most investment banks are, if not all, I don't know for a fact, but there's like 700 or so investment banks in the country. But most are also commercial banks, so they kind of merge together. But not all commercial banks, like us, are investment banks. Like, we're not an investment bank.
So what would be the difference between the two?
Investment banks are way more, I'll say risky is the term, because they're investing. They're actually more large they work with mergers, acquisitions, IPOs, more on the stock market side. Like, they deal with all riskier things than a typical commercial bank will just deal with your consumers, your small businesses, your larger businesses as well, servicing customers and clients directly, like on an individual level. Investment banks are just dealing with large corporations.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but that's where you can run into issues, which happened in 2008 and things like that. Like, that's investment banking, causing issues there. So subprime lending.
So this is purely, obviously, not a representative of Tompkins here, just your opinion.
Sure.
Are we heading towards another 2008 type crisis in the banking world?
No, I don't think we are. I think this is more like the 80s. This is more the late 70s, early 80s. So if anybody wants to actually research what they think is going to happen, I would start right there.
So stagflation, heading into a slow rebuild, long recession.
Great example. Yeah, I hate to say that, but you look at the prime rate. Do you know what the prime rate is? Okay. So, historically, if you go back, that rate should be around, I'll say 8-9%. That's when things are normal and operational and doing well.
We've been at 0.
Yeah, exactly. We've been in this fantasy land of borrowing money at nothing.
Which, as an investor, has been great.
I know.
I've been building projects. It's been amazing. Money's been free.
Yeah. Well, people can throw a HELOC on their home and then invest it in the stock market. And make money.
Which is 1920s speculation.
Correct.
Yep.
So, but historically, if you look 9%. Well, back in the late 70s, early 80s, that prime rate is 20%. I'm not saying we're going to get to 20, but we are going to get to double digits.
Yeah.
That's strictly my opinion. I have no inside information. I know nothing about that.
I agree with you.
On the bank, but that, from what I know and what I'm reading about, we are looking at double digits for sure.
How long do you think it takes to get there?
Not long.
We might be there by the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We could be there by the end of the year, definitely next year.
Well, we're at what, 6.5% 30 year?
6.25, right? 6.25 right now. Yep.
From 2.5 a year ago.
We were at 3.25 in this year yet.
Okay.
So
it's basically doubled in 8 months.
Yeah. It's going to skyrocket, and that's just fighting the inflation. They have to do that.
They don't have a choice.
I don't blame them.
It's either that or Venezuela.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
That's
so, but it's all relative too. You look at your retired people and things like that traditionally, deal with more safe investments at a bank. Back when I was hired in 2000, we're giving out 7% CD rates because our mortgage rates were like 9, Well, that all tanked, so their CD rates that they're earning now are only at like, 0.75, so those people will benefit in something like this. People that have money that want to put it in a bank, those interest rates will rise. So.
Well, I think that's a good place. We actually wrapped up right when the timer went off. Because I got a bunch of other stuff I want to ask you about, but we're going to take a quick profit break, and then we'll be back with more Derek from Tompkins. So, be right back.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.